Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Career Speaker Series from Fulfillment Fund. My name is Jen Ocampo, and I will be moderating a conversation this afternoon with Kelli Kirkland. Hi, Kelli. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Kelli works with Netflix. And so Kelli, maybe if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of where you went to school, how you got to Netflix, and we'll start there.
Oh, how did I get to Netflix? That's a whole long story, but let's see. I never thought in a billion years I would be working at Netflix. If someone said to me 10, 15, even 20 years ago, where would you be? This is the last place I thought I would be and the greatest place I ever could have landed. So I will just say up front, keep your options open, say yes to every opportunity to take on things that you're scared to take on, because you never know what great thing is right around the corner. So you just never know what's going to happen. I went to UCLA, sorry, Trojans, but I went to UCLA, I love Bruins, and I went as a Spanish language major. My plan was to be a high school Spanish teacher. So as you can see, I have veered completely in a different direction. Not in my plans at all, but I think part of the joy of being in Los Angeles, and whether you go to UCLA or USC or a community college, or so many great options out there, a trade school, so many different options. LA has a little bit of everything, and it's truly the place where you can make your dreams come true. I mean, I'm the first person in my family to ever go to college. My grandmother was a housekeeper. My other grandmother grew up on welfare. Like, I came from the projects. Like, it's not like I had any real opportunities in front of me except the opportunities I made for myself. And so I just want to encourage all of you students out there. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter what money you have or don't have. It doesn't matter what your family lineage is. It doesn't matter. What matters is your drive and how much effort you're willing to put in. And you can be someone from the projects whose family grew up in poverty and end up at the greatest company in the world.
That's a great introduction and a great story. I'm intrigued, and I'm sure the students on our call are as well. Can you maybe talk about, you said you majored in Spanish literature.
Yes.
Majoring in Spanish literature, can you talk about kind of your journey to how you got to Netflix? I know your position. Maybe you can also start with what your position at Netflix currently is.
Sure. So I handle screening operations at Netflix. So what that means is everything that you see on Netflix that's in the United States or Canada has come across my desk before it got to you. So everything from a director wanting to look at his or her cut of something, all the process all the way through. For instance, Guillermo del Toro just won the Oscar for Pinocchio. So I got to sit in and watch from the very beginning of Pinocchio being cut, and editing being cut. I watched when Pinocchio didn't have a nose. I watched the whole thing all the way through. And then sitting at the Oscars when it won, it's like this emotional feeling, not like I did it, but because those rooms are my space and I get to interact in those ways. I get to see things from the ground up, all the way to the premiere, all the way to some world famous director winning an Oscar. So it's very exciting. And my background didn't teach me to do that. Like, that's not where I came from. I thought I was going to be a high school teacher. And I taught for a while. I switched from high school to elementary school. I ended up being a first grade teacher for many, many years. I realized that you can't tell on this call, but I'm only 5'2". And so all the high school students were so much bigger than me. It was a little intimidating to teach high school. I know you're all in high school. You're all probably taller than I am. But I just didn't feel like I had like an authoritative enough look. And I'm very smiley and light. I didn't feel like it was necessarily the right fit once I got into it. I loved it, but the little kids worked better for me. And along the way on a summer break, a friend said, hey, who lived in an apartment building with me, hey, do you want to come on this shoot with me? We need some volunteers to help on this free shoot that my friend is doing for this like student film. I was like, I have nothing else to do. Sure, I'll go ahead and do it. And then I worked the weekend, and then I worked the week. And I ended up working almost the whole summer on different projects for free, just doing it because it was fun. And he said, do you want to interview for a job in production? And I said, I don't even know what production is. And he said, well, come meet my boss. He's going to love you. I was like, well, I don't know what I would say. What should I do? Why do you think I'd be good at this? And he said, because you're so organized, you pay attention to detail, and you're such a hard worker. He goes, and you're a people person. You're like really good with people. And it shifted my thinking, because I thought in your life, you're supposed to have like this one skill you're good at. and the one class you're good at, English or algebra or art or whatever. There's supposed to be one thing you're supposed to do. And all of a sudden I realized when people ask who you are, it's not about, oh, I'm good at English, or I'm good at that. Look at the characteristics that make you who you are. Are you compassionate? Are you patient? Are you a go-getter? Are you a person who's not afraid of challenges? Are you timid? Which is a good thing, because sometimes we need a timid, quiet voice in the room. We need all different types of people. But find out what makes you feel the best, those qualities about you. And then you'll find the career that's right for you. So it's not about saying, I'm going to be a teacher, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a mechanic. It's about saying, what do I love and what am I good at? What's my personality like? And finding it. So someone else had to show me that, because I went all the way through school, all the way through UCLA, paid all that money, and no one ever taught me the things that I needed to know about myself that were the most important. And he got me an interview at Warner Brothers, a huge company. And I remember taking my resume into the boss, who looked at it and goes, you literally have zero experience. Why are you in my office? That's what he said to me. And this
Wow.
beautiful, you've all probably gone past Warner Brothers. And I said, he goes, why would I offer you a job? You have no experience. There's so many more candidates, more experience than you. And I looked at him with a straight face, and I will never forget it. I said, you will find someone with more experience, but you will never, no matter how hard you search, find someone who is a harder worker than I am. And he hired me on the spot. And I've been working in the entertainment industry ever since.
Wow.
So, you know, there was no way I should have found my way into this, but I said I'd volunteer and do something for a friend, and it turned into a career changing yes.
Well, that's a great testament and example to, believing in yourself and your hard work and the strengths that you can bring to essentially a job where you had no experience, and you convinced them on the spot.
Yeah. And I will tell you, let me just tell you, I was shaking in my boots. Like literally, I was so scared sitting in that office, and I was like, please, I hope I have enough deodorant on. I had like a silk shirt. I remember I was like, why did I wear a silk shirt? I know I'm having pit stains. I know he can see how I was not confident, but I said, I've got nothing to lose. I already don't have a job at Warner Brothers. When I walked in, I didn't have a job at Warner Brothers. So if I walk out and still don't have a job at Warner Brothers, I'm still the same. And I'll still go back to teaching, and I'll be okay. That's just what I thought. It was sort of like, I have nothing to lose. So I'm just going to tell the truth about myself. And hopefully at some point, someone believed, the person who recommended me believed it enough to recommend me. So I just gave it a shot, and I've been working nonstop ever since. And I love it. And every day I learn something new, and every day I get challenged with something I don't know how to do. And I go, I'm going to learn it.
Yeah, I think that's an important takeaway as well, right? You don't need to know how to do everything, and asking questions, even in a position where they may expect you to know it, right?
Yes.
Being truthful and honest. I think those are also great takeaways. Kelli, you sound super passionate about your work. Can you maybe share the story of like working in production at Warner Brothers with no experience to, the positions that you, fell into or earned
Yes.
along the way to what got you to Netflix now?
Yes. So there are so many different things along the way that happened. And there's a movie on Netflix. I think it was on Netflix. Maybe it's on a different service, but it was called like The Year of Yes or something, where this mom saying yes to everything. And, you don't want to say yes to bad things, but you do want to say yes to opportunities. That time when someone says, hey, do you want to, come to lunch with me and let's talk about this or that, and you really don't feel like it, but go, because you never know what that conversation is going to lead to. So I've done everything, I think, in production besides being like an electrician. I have, gotten coffee for people. I have, had bosses where I would go to their mansions and clean up after their dog because they needed me to. I mean, it wasn't the best thing in the world, but my boss was nice and was like, hey, I can't make it. Can you let my dog out? I was like, okay. Because what I thought is, I don't feel degraded by this. I feel like my boss trusts me enough to have the code to all of the stuff at his mansion, to let me in, to let me go in. I have access to everything. That is saying something to me. So it's all your perspective. I could look at it as like, why is he having me do this thing that's beneath me? I went to college. Or I could say, wow, look at the trust he has, because this is a multi-million-dollar estate and I have all the codes. That means he's saying something to me. He's not saying, oh, and he loves his dog and he's trusting his dog with me. So, those were just some of the things along the way. Listen, now don't ever let anyone degrade you or do anything that's, inappropriate or anything like that. But I have done production managing on set, and I did love that job. The only reason I probably stopped doing that is because I became a mom and I was on set all the time and I never saw my son. So I had to leave that and come work in an office, which for me, that was my choice. I, wanted to be around and more present for my son, but I love working on set. It's not for everyone. Some people find it stressful, but I love the buzz of it. I love being there because you see jobs that no one ever told me in high school or college were even jobs I could have. No, I didn't know what a grip was, or an electric person was, or a gaffer, or a DP, or I didn't know any of that. And all of these jobs are things that I had access to. And especially in Los Angeles, there are so many training programs that you can go to. They will pay you and train you if you want to look into these fields. It's just a matter of doing the research and finding out. And I will just say, I don't know who is on the call, but especially if you're any person of color, like there are or a woman, because a lot of the fields are very male dominated. There are so many programs that can get you in and get you trained in jobs that you never thought you would do. And so you go through the training. If you don't like it, train for something else, or try that job for a year and see if you do like it, see who you meet on set and go from there. So.
And Kelly, are these training programs available to like students? Like, do you have to be of a certain age to participate in these training programs?
We have all different types of programs. A lot of ours start in college.
And this is specifically at Netflix.
This is at Netflix, but I'm saying across, whether it's Sony, Warner Brothers, a lot of them are college because they're trying to gear you to have your job right after college. So a lot of them start in college, but some, I know we do one at the high school right here that's across the street from Netflix. I don't know if y'all know where Netflix is on Sunset and like Van Ness, sort of near Vine, kind of near Gower. We do a program with the high school right across the street because we say, what if those kids want to work at Netflix? They obviously live in the neighborhood. So we work with students there, and we have some of the biggest producers in the world who walk across the street to that high school and work with them and teach them about all the different jobs they can have in the entertainment industry. So we have tons and tons and tons of things that are available to students, and everyone does, because content is being made so quickly, we cannot ramp up enough and train enough people fast enough. So that's why we do these programs, because we really want people who are passionate and we want to get you in young. And hey, listen, if I had known I could come out of college, out of the gate, making $75,000 a year, I would have been doing, I was like, this is what college kids get to do now. But that's what these companies do. And then they train you for free, which is amazing.
Lots of good information. I have questions, and I also just wanted to, remind those on the call, if you do have questions, please put them in the chat and I'll be sure to ask them of Kelly. You talked a lot about and then going back to the production, because that's kind of where you started in this industry. I know a little bit about what people in production do. You mentioned, doing things for the boss, I think you mentioned a dog, or like getting coffee.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned some jobs like the gaffer and the DP. Can you, I guess one question, someone working production, does that mean that they're always on set?
Great. So let me tell you, there are sort of three parts of production. Pre-production, that's everything that happens. So what happens is, once a script is written or a reality show is decided, some writer wants to make it, producers want to make it, it's called greenlit. That means go. It means somebody's buying it. We're going to make it. Here we go. So once that's the creative process, once the creative process happens, production takes place. So there's pre-production. That means all the people in the offices who are getting everything ready, helping, script coordinator, casting directors, location scouts. If you like to travel, what a great job for you, that you get paid to go all over the world and find locations and keep location databases. People who like to drive a lot. We need transportation drivers to drive people on set. There's so many different jobs. So in pre-production, all the people in the office are getting everything ready to go to set to film. And that sometimes takes 3 months, could be 3 to 6 months of pre-production. Then there's production. That's physical production. That means we're on set. Now, I did some pre-production. I worked in casting for a while, but I really like production. That's the main production, where we're on set, filming it, dealing with everything that's going on set. We need everyone from people. If you like to cook, we have something called craft services. We literally have somebody who their job is to make delicious food and go to Costco and shop for snacks and everything, because once you're on set, you can't leave and go to lunch anywhere. So we have to have food on set. We have medics, everything you can think of on set. because people basically live there 12 hours a day for however long we're filming. Then you have post-production. So if you're a tech person, or if you like, computers, we need people who edit, if you're an artist, we need people who can color correct because the color has to look right. If you're into music, we have people who need to put the music in and make sure the sound sounds good. So there are all those things to pre-production and post-production. And then finally it gets released and gets on air, gets on service. So there are 3 different types of production. There are so many different jobs available. And that's why I say, think about what you like. I like being on my feet. I don't mind getting up early in the morning. I am a people person. I want to be around people all the time. And I want to be on the tip of my toes. Then production might be for you. If you're like, no, I'm like logistics and I want it sort of consistent. I want to know what's what. I don't want to be outside in the cold or the rain, pre-production may be more for you because it's before all that stuff happens and you're in an office and you're getting everything organized. So we need those organized brains. And if you're more tech, music, art, something like that, you might be more in post-production. So think of what you like. And then those are the 3 areas of production for you.
Oh, thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome.
I know it sounds like there's so many different areas, you mentioned if you want to cook, you want to be in animation. I mean, so many skill sets that are necessary. If you had to go back to UCLA and you were going to perhaps, maybe would you select a different major to go work at Netflix or Warner Brothers?
No, I don't think your major matters at all because your college should be a place where you're doing what you love and learning what you love. You already are who you are. In terms of, listen, unless you are born and raised, you're like, I only want to be this thing in my life. I only want to be a cinematographer. So I'm just going to study film. Okay, that's fine. If you're that clear, that's fine. But for me, nobody ever even cared what my major was in college. Literally, no one has ever cared. I've never even needed to put it on a resume. It's really been irrelevant, So entertainment is all about who you know and where you intern, where you volunteered for free to do some work while you were in high school or college, and that person's going to refer you for a job. And they really don't care what your major was in college. And listen, I will tell you, a lot of people don't go to college who work in the entertainment industry. Lots and lots and lots and lots. College isn't for everyone. I would say if you are able to at least go to a trade school or a junior college or something like that, just to get that experience of, sort of the grown-up world outside of high school, I highly recommend that. Even if it's just for a year or two to, just get some grounding before you just jump right into the workplace. It's a nice sort of bridge for you. But I would say probably 40% of the people I work with did not finish a 4-year college degree. College wasn't for them or what have you. They had all these other skills and they learned on the job or they took training classes to learn what they needed to learn to do their job.
That's great advice and great information to share with the group. I think we do have a question in the chat. This question says, does Netflix offer any high school tours? Can I take my classes to Netflix studios? This person is interested in animation and opportunities for his art classes.
Oh, interesting. So our animation studio is actually in Burbank. We can actually hook you up with a tour. Side note, I do a lot of tours at Netflix. I just did one recently. So I love doing them. They're super fun. I do them at the main Netflix office, but I do work with some of the animation folks in Burbank. So if you were specifically interested in animation, I would ask you to just reach out to me that's okay. If you don't mind sharing my email address, my Netflix email address with whoever asked the question, they can just email me directly. And if it's here to Icon, I can set that up easily. But if it's the Burbank team, I would need to confer with them. I'm sure they could do it. I just don't know exactly how they do it at Burbank. So I can hook you up with the people at Burbank.
That's great, Kelly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll connect with the group, get your contact information. Great. We can share that with those here on this call if they want to reach out to you for any other questions. What would you say you enjoy most about your job, and what would you say are some of the challenges that you have to deal with in your job?
So the biggest challenge I have to deal with, it's different personalities, different people personalities, because you are dealing with a lot of different people and everyone comes from a different walk of life, a different space, a different life experience. Sometimes, listen, it's no secret, I am a woman of color, and sometimes I am met with challenges or people maybe assuming things about me that aren't true based on maybe their limited experience, their limited life experience with women of color. And so sometimes negative assumptions are made about me. That's just life. It's not specific to Netflix. It's just a real life thing. And so for me, trying to balance the New Yorker me that wants to get upset with the person who, needs to have decorum and have a job. And the reason I keep getting asked to go to different jobs is because I balance that well. I'm able to be strategic in my responses and calm myself down and cool myself down so that I don't later on regret something in the moment. And I'm always able to come around it. But I will say sometimes it's exhausting. And I just want people to look at my body of work. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. And I just think, at what point can you just see I'm really good at my job and just recognize that. So that's just a real grown-up truth. It's life. It happens. That is the hardest thing, when I just sometimes am not respected for my body of work. But you've got to make it work. And I always say, it's like I tell my son, he's a young Black man in America, and I say, life is a marathon, not a sprint. You've got to be in it for the long haul. So you can have your temper, son, you can have your upset, you can go toe to toe with someone, you can. But is that going to be to the benefit for you on mile 20, 21, 22? You got to think down the road, not just in this moment. So that's just, I'm a teacher at heart and I'm a mom. And so those are the lessons I try to instill in him, is that you can be mad and you're right to be mad and you're right to be frustrated. All that's true. But if that's the way you act, you're not going to make it past mile 2, 3, or 4. You will not get to the end of the race and you will not win the race. So just think of that. Is it worth it? I say that argument you want to have, that attitude you want to have, is that the hill you're willing to die on? Because that may cost you your job. That may be it. And it doesn't mean take anything from anyone. That's not what I'm saying. It just means to be strategic and say, is this worth it? Is there another way I could come at this? Will I have a more clear head tomorrow? Is it okay for me to just zip it today, think about it, sleep on it, strategize in the morning, and then come back and address this? Get some advice from someone I trust. Run this by someone else before I go. I have a temper, so I need to sometimes roll it off with some of my friends who are more calm than me. I'm from Brooklyn originally, so I'm ready to fight. But that's not how I got to be where I am. I have to, okay, Kelli, marathon, not sprint. So that's the hardest thing. And the most enjoyable thing is when I see something I thought I could not accomplish, and I hit that finish line and I can't believe it. I could cry. It's amazing, because I should not be here. I grew up in an area where you go to jail or you get killed. Those are generally your options. And so to be here is so incredible. And it really shows that the only thing that can stop you is you. That's it. No matter what barriers you have, no matter what's in your way, push it aside, and I promise you, the only thing that can stop you is you. So don't stop yourself. Whatever your dreams are, no matter how big, no matter how far away they seem, no matter how impossible it is, if I can be here talking to you, I promise you, anybody can be here. So whatever you want, whether it's Netflix, whether it's an Oscar, whether it's a stay-at-home parent, whether it's, whatever it is that's your dream, you go for it, you go get it, you go hard, you be relentless in the pursuit of what brings you joy. You deserve it and you can do it.
That's so inspirational, Kelli. Thank you so much for being so open about that. And I think it's something that we all know, but it's, I think, important for us to hear that. Yeah. So thank you for being so open and sharing that. Is there any advice that you would give to our students in terms of specific skill sets that they should be working on now that you found that have helped you be successful in your career?
I would say a couple of the most important things. One is, and I know it's going to sound so silly, be early to everything. Please don't be the person that's like, oh, traffic, everyone's in traffic. Really, don't be on time. Be early to everything. You will never lose the job because you were there 15 minutes early. Never. You will always be the one looked at with a little, oh, wow, look who's here. Wow, conscientious. Be early. I literally set the timers in my phone. In the old days, I had to write it in a book. Y'all don't even know what that is. You're young. You don't know what that is. I went to college. So old. I went to college. There was no internet.
Same.
There was no Waze or Google Maps. I had like a Thomas Guide.
Thomas Guide.
Right. So There's no excuse for being late. If my appointment is at 1:30, I say it's at 1. You know, that's just how, be early, because it's always going to be to your benefit. Be organized. Figure out what organization skills work for you. To continue to say, oh, I forgot, oh, I missed it. That's not okay. Especially now with these phones, you can put in reminders, there are reminder apps. I have literally probably 40 reminders a day. I'm not going to remember it all. It's the only way I can stay organized. So whatever works for you, please be organized with what you do. And are there 2 more things? One thing, own your mistakes. Don't snake out of something if you've made a mistake. Own it, say, my apologies. You know, that was on me. I did that. Let me see what I can do to fix it. Don't hide your mistakes. I know it's scary to say I messed up. I know. I have messed up some big things where I was like, well, I'm fired. I know they're firing me. They should fire me. Never happened once when I owned up to a mistake. Never once. And I had 2 I should have been fired for. Big, big mistakes that cost the company a lot of money. My error. But I wasn't fired. I owned up to it. We took care of it. I didn't make the same mistake twice. So be honest and own up to whatever it is you do. And the other one I will say, which is going to sound silly, but think about how people view you. Not in a way to like, I'm not saying you need to mutate yourself, everyone, but if you walk around with a frown on your face all the time, that's going to be how people view you. You know, if you walk around and you come into work and you look like, you know, sorry, you don't smell great because you haven't showered in 2 days, you're not going to get the promotion. I'm not saying you have to be a model. I'm not saying you have to wear expensive clothes, but silly. It's like stuff your parents or grandparents or, you know, foster parents would say, like, right, be your best self. Like, show up in something that looks presentable. You don't have to have $1 million outfit, but be presentable. It's the first thing people see about you. So come in neat and tidy, have yourself together, brush your hair, have brushed your teeth. I mean, these are all things you're probably like rolling your eyes at, but I say this because I have hired and not hired a lot of people over the years. And I remember one girl came in, I know we're just about at time, came in, she was the best qualified for the job. And she walked in, looked like she was going to a nightclub. And I said, I'm going to give you one more chance. She was like, what? I said, I'm going to reschedule your interview tomorrow and come back in here looking like you want this job. Do not come in here looking like you went to the club last night, slept in your car and walked in here. And she was like this. And I was like, no one else is going to give you this chance, but I'm going to give you this chance. I said, and you know what? You're a woman of color, so I'm trying to help you. Go back, same time tomorrow, show up different. And she came back in a professional manner and I hired her. And we're still in touch to this day. She goes, she said she was raised in foster care. She's like, no one ever taught me how to dress for an interview. I was never told. I thought I looked pretty. I was like, okay, well, I'm glad I was able to help you. And anyway, so you never know someone's different life experiences and, you know, but I don't know how. I'm just telling you, please be neat and tidy and come in presentable for your job.
Those are great takeaways. And I know I asked you specifically for students, but I think those are important takeaways for even adults, like for myself, right? Those are just good things to remember and keep in mind that are helpful to, you know, in people's success. So I think we're right out of time, but there's one last question that I wanted to ask you, Kelli. In terms of Netflix offering internships for high schools, maybe that's the information you can share when you share your email with us, if there's any information you know about
yes.
that.
And I will, and if I forget, can you email me? I will investigate that some more. I don't know what exactly they have in terms of high school, because we have been talking about that more, and even in terms of like summer programs or different things that we could offer. So that's not exactly my department, but I'm happy to dig into that for you.
Okay, we will definitely be in touch and get that information. I just really wanted to thank you, Kelli, for your time.
My pleasure.
For really opening up and sharing, you know, your career journey, but also your personal journey, and just really inspirational and motivational. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, students. I can't see you, but I'm so thankful that you're here and would be willing to spend your time with me. Hope it was valuable time, and good luck, you know, go persevere.